Intuitive viewers, how's it going? I hope everybody's doing well. Today I'm really excited because I have my sister Julie here. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Kimmy.
Julie's in Salt Lake, but she's joining us today. And I've been thinking about this video for a long time and I wanted to talk to Julie specifically because I have been doing reading after reading with people who are finding themselves kind of in a time of upheaval. Either they have lost their jobs after 20 or 30 years working at the same job because the company has folded or because they've downsized, or they are they've lost their own business, their spouse has lost their business or lost their job. They are kind of in a different place than they were before Trump got in. Either maybe they're spiritually different, or they've taken time off of their job because of the pandemic and realize, I don't like this job. I don't want this job anymore. Or the energy has changed for them because maybe they're more spiritually minded now, whereas before they weren't. So they want to move in a different direction. And so in that way, they've kind of had their life kind of shifted or changed when they didn't expect it, at a time they didn't expect it. And so let me introduce Julie a little bit to you. And this is why I want to talk to her, because she's had some upheaval in her life at different times. But she's a cancer survivor. She has 5 children and 6 grandchildren. Is that right, Chica?
Yes, that's right.
6 grandchildren. Okay, I almost said 7, but 6 grandchildren. She's a director of sales and events at the Megaplex Theater in Utah. And she's served 16 years on the Granite School District, which is the largest school, 16 years on the Granite District School Board. And that is the largest school district in the state of Utah, correct?
Yes, yeah, it's a big district.
It's a big district. And so let me kind of set up to where I want to kind of start at the point of your life I want to start at, because we're going to go back. We're going to go back to 76 when disco was king.
Is there a DeLorean involved at all?
And angel flights and everything. But so 1976, Julie gets married to a returned missionary in the Mormon church in the temple, which is for time and eternity, just so you know, just so if you don't forget, Julie, time and eternity.
Thank you.
And so you're kind of living, and you have 5 children with this husband. You're both, you both serve in the church with church callings, and you're kind of a suburban mom, like raising your kids as a stay-at-home mother, involved in the church, involved in school stuff. You were on the PTA, correct?
Yeah, PTA.
So this is the life that you're living for 20 almost 20 years. And you are in the midst of that thinking this is how your life is going to go, and you just kind of raise your kids and have grandkids, and that would be your life. But what happens in 19, when was the actual start of this? Was it 19?
I think it was like 1998, because it dragged on for a while.
Okay, yeah.
Because I was trying to think if the divorce finally went through after Dad had passed, or
it dragged on past that.
Past that, that's what I thought.
So maybe 1995 or 6, maybe this started.
It could be, yeah. Because I think Skylar was about 9.
Okay.
So yeah, it would be like 96. Yeah.
Mid 90s, later mid 90s.
Yeah.
You find out that you're, unbeknownst to you, you're getting a divorce.
Yes.
So, and this is sprung on you, and your kids are from 9 years old up to 15?
15, yeah.
Okay. So your kids are those ages.
Yeah.
Hard ages anyway, let alone looking at a divorce. And you had also never really had a job while you'd been married, maybe one job, but you've really been a stay-at-home mom this whole time,
Right.
and planning to be a stay-at-home mom, not really planning to go into the workforce at all. And so this is where you are, and you have maybe a year or two of college, right?
I had 2.5 years of college. Yeah.
Okay, 2.5 years of college.
Yeah.
And so this happens, and the rug is completely pulled out from under you, because this is not what you planned at all.
It's
And
true.
I also we won't go into the details of it, but you're left also with not really any money. You have the house
Right.
and the kids,
Right.
not really any money. And so this is where you land. So
Correct.
where do you begin when this happens? First of all, what is the thought process, and what happens? Where, how far do you fall before you start to kind of climb back up? And what is the start of that?
Yeah. So for me, I feel like I recovered pretty quickly, at least on the surface, because I felt so strongly that the parent sets the tone for what's going on in your home. And of course, my first concern was for my kids.
Right.
And I have to get up every day. I have to go through the motions. I have to, be there for them, put a smile on my face, do whatever I have to do to just keep things as normal as possible, so that the kids could process what was happening and what they were going to have to go through.
Right.
At the time, I had just barely taken a job just as a friend at the West Valley Chamber of Commerce, which is where I live. I had a friend that was the president there, and she said, I desperately need somebody to help me a couple days a week. Would you be interested? And I thought, oh, that'd be kind of fun. And my kids were all in school, so I had the time. And so I don't know where I was going with that, Kim. Just went out, right? It does do your brain damage. But I just kept things as normal as possible and just kept going through the motions as much as possible, so that things looked and felt a little bit normal. And that's
what was happening inside? What was happening inside? And also, what was happening when your kids weren't around? What would happen?
That was tough.
How would you,
So that was tough. I would say that. So what was happening inside is I would wake up every morning, and I mean, my eyes would just fly open in the morning, and the panic would set in. And I would think, how am I going to send kids to school? How am I going to send kids to college? How am I going to, how, all these things, just the overwhelming responsibility of providing things for my kids.
Right.
I did eventually get child support. I've never taken alimony, because the court, he took me to court many, many times, and he had resources that I did not have.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can walk away from money, and that's okay, because it's just stuff. And we had a dad who would say, well, I can make more money. So I would always in the back of my head think, I don't know how I can do this, but I am going to do this somehow. So initially there was a lot of panic, a lot of anxiety, and that is where I leaned very heavily on my friends and on my faith. I carry the load anytime with either telling my sisters. I mean, my sisters were all so good to me. And I have a lot of neighbors and friends here in the community that were very good to me. And then honestly, it was my faith. And I remember thinking that I knew at some point I was going to have to go into the workforce immediately. I didn't have to. That's where I was going with this. I didn't have to immediately because I was getting some child support and I had this little job, and I didn't want to have to be gone full time initially because I felt like, again, that would be such a big change for my kids. But I knew it was inevitable. And so I just remember praying and thinking, I have to do this. I've got to take care of these kids. If they've got to have shoes, they've got to have meals. You're going to have to fill in the gaps. Heavenly Father, you're going to have to fill in the gaps because this is something I have to do. I just do. And, nobody's in prison. So I feel like the gaps were filled in. My kids, they're great kids. They've all been educated. They've graduated from college. I have a daughter who just finished law school. Everybody's employed. They're good citizens. They're good people. And I couldn't do that by myself because I simply wasn't there a lot of the time. So I think that one thing that I learned is that if we are doing things that we have to do with good intention, with a good heart, your faith, spirit, Buddha, whatever higher power you believe in, will step in and fill in those gaps for you. I think that's what happened for me anyway.
Yeah, I think that is true. I mean, I think that's what, you know, on the channel, that's what what I'm constantly trying with my classes, just to get people to build that relationship with spirit. And I think it would be a good time too to tell people that you're in the Mormon Church, you're an active member, and that when we talk about faith, that we're talking about a very, you know, a loose version of it. We're talking about whatever that means to you.
Yeah, however that resonates with you. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so when you're going through this kind of upheaval, what do you tell yourself day to day to get yourself through that? You kind of talked about, you know, your faith and you know, I'm sure there was lots of prayer. I'm sure there was lots of, you know, discussion with, you know, your church, what we would call the bishop or clergy.
Yeah, my bishop was fantastic. Yeah.
Right.
A lot of good people.
But the practical things day to day, what would you tell yourself as far as like getting up and going to a job, maybe? Because I don't think, you know, as accomplished as you are now, you started at a minimum wage job at the movie.
I did. I had a chamber member. I was working at the chamber a couple days a week, and I had a chamber member post a job. And it was a sales job at a theater, not the theater I'm at now, but it was a group sales job. And I thought, well, I like people, so maybe I can do sales. And, you know, I never thought I was incapable of anything. Did I have I didn't have my college degree, but I never believed I was stupid or anything, you know. I applied for that and got it. And that that did take me onto the path that I'm on now. And I'm on a really good path now as far as a career goes. I did start, I was making $7.25 an hour when I started. So, and I know. And somehow I made it work. Did people help me? Yes. I mean, Kim, you and Adam were very generous with me. My church helped me in a couple of times when I had attorney bills I needed to pay. And so they would help me with things like that. Day to day, it's a lot, in my mind, it's a lot like being an addict. Is you get up and you just think, all I have to do today is get through today.
You mean a recovering addict, not an addict.
A recovering addict, thank you. There were days I felt like an addict, but this would this is a recovering addict, is that it was just get through the day, I had friends that called me and things like that I do believe were prompted by the Spirit to do that. You very much, when I was having the panic attacks and things, it was because I was looking at the whole picture, and I was future worrying.
Right.
Didn't know that we're going to happen, but I future worried all the time. And I finally thought, you have to just pull way back into yourself and think, what do I have to do today? Okay, I've got to get people out the door to school. I've got to go to work, and then I've got to come home and I'll worry about tomorrow.
Right.
And it truly, that's the only way for me that I could hang in there, was just taking it a day at a time. And, you know, the other thing that helped me, Kim, is when you have change thrust upon you, which I think a lot of us have had, it's not like you anticipated to change, like, oh, I bought a new house and I'm excited, I'm going to through this change. It's thrust on you. And so I think your response, your preparation, if there is any, is very, very different. And I think that what we're going through now is change that has been thrust upon us.
Right.
You know, a lot of times you want to say, well, no fair, no fair. I don't want to play this game.
Right.
But when change is thrust upon you, for me, it just made me think, okay, I have to control the things that I can control. And again, faith, the things that I can't control, I've got to throw it out and say, again, Heavenly Father, somebody, because I can't do this by myself.
Right.
And you know, it's a struggle. I don't want to make it sound easy, because it wasn't. But in hindsight, so many blessings came my way, so many opportunities came my way, that, you know, just fell into my lap in so many ways.
Well, and
I had people that my kids had to take tests and things that I didn't necessarily have the money for, AP tests and things like that. I had neighbors who would call me, I had a bishop who called me and said, you know what? He goes, I'm going to pay for any AP tests that your kids want to take. My daughter got married. When Sarah got married, I had another church leader call me and say, get the refreshments you want for her wedding. I want to pay for it. The one thing that all of these struggles have shown me is how good people are. People are there's so much good in the world. I look at what's happening at the Capitol and it makes me so furious. And yet I think all of these experiences have brought me the understanding that there are so much good in the world. Is this even answering your questions, Kim?
Yeah, no. It's totally answering it, because I think there's a couple things I want to touch on, because you said one thing I thought that was really interesting that you said was that you kind of, when you talked about, you just kind of figure out the day to day and the rest of stuff, you just kind of let it go. And to me, that's a big testament to the power of surrender. Yeah. Surrendering kind of what you cannot control and just kind of letting it be. And I think when you do that, and this is a big, I love Eckhart Tolle, and one of the big things for him, the reason you're in the present is because because you don't get overwhelmed with the problems of the world and all these things you can't control, but also so you can be alert to what comes your way, to what opportunities come, or what thoughts come to mind that help you, that make you kind of be in the present, so that you're not mired with all of this other stuff that you don't have control over.
You
can't control it. And so I think that is a great point, especially with all the stuff happening in the world, when you can kind of bring it back to just what do you need? What do you need to make yourself okay right now? I think that's a great point. And I think that it just that alone makes you kind of, it takes such a weight off of you, not having to worry about, okay, I'm not going to worry about my kids' college 5 years from now, because I don't know where I'm going to be 5 years from now.
Right.
I just need to worry about getting through today. Right. So,
and
but go ahead.
The word that you used that really resonates with me is surrender. And I have to tell folks, if you have something like this going on, the sooner you surrender and accept help in whatever form it may come, you are going to go through the process much more quickly than I did. Because as soon as finally I figured that out, that's what I'm going to have to do to get through each day. The days became so much easier.
Right.
Easier.
And so I know there's a few little things that you do that you kind of tell yourself, and I know that these are a few little things. There are a few little things that you do that are just little tricks to kind of help you kind of move forward, and to have, and one thing is to have something to look forward to, because you're a big believer in kind of always have something that you can look is going to just make you kind of keep going when you don't know, when your mind's going a little bit crazy, or you're getting negative, you're becoming negative. It's something positive that's out there you can reach for. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I have found with me, I just do better if I have something, like you said, something to look forward to. And it doesn't have to be anything big. Sometimes it was just, I know that I call my mom every Sunday, and I really look forward to talking to mom every Sunday. Then sometimes with my kids, it's, I know I'm going to do a lunch date with Tyson, and I'm going to go meet him for lunch in a couple weeks. Things like that. But then I always have one or two big things that I can look forward to every year. I try to. That's a trip, which, I never thought I'd been able to do things I never thought I'd be able to do, because I've had career success. So I look forward to, I try to plan a couple of trips every year, and it doesn't have to be any place exotic. It can be, to a cabin we went to a cabin, some friends and I rented a cabin it wasn't a cabin, it was a glorious house as it turns out, but we went to Tennessee you know, and just with some girlfriends last year. And we spent a week in Tennessee and it was a lot of fun. And so I try to always have things like that to look forward to. It just helps me get through. Your days become very, you guys, everybody knows this, your days become regimented and planned and very much the same. So if you can look forward to something, that really helps me. It helps my peace of mind.
Yeah. And so when people are, because when we're going back to when you're kind of like, okay, I'm thrust into the workforce in a way I didn't think I would be,
Yeah.
you know, that's not only a big change, but it's a big change that that you don't know if you can do or not. You don't know if you're up for it or not. And so for people that are kind of on the cusp of big change, whether it's something that they want to try that's new, or something that they may have to go in a different direction, but they're not sure where to go, what would you tell them to make them feel like, I can do this, or I can try something new? And what do you tell them as far as, taking that risk, or, being able to kind of, have a leap of faith, or kind of that kind of thing? What would you tell them about that, or how to do that, how to get yourself, ginned up to do something like that?
Right. That's interesting. An interesting question. One thing that I have, I hope this doesn't sound dumb, but one thing that I have on my wall that I look at the first thing every morning is I have a thing that says faith over fear. Because the thing that holds us back the most, I believe, is fear. It's fear of failure. It's fear of, I haven't done this before. Can I do it? All of those things. So I always think faith over fear. So I would say that you always look for something that you already have some passion for.
Mm-hmm.
I do like talking to people. So for me, I was thinking a career in sales would be good. I also knew that I had to believe in whatever I was selling. I had to believe in the product. So I initially started at a place here in Utah that is a movie theater, and then they also have an arcade and all this other stuff, and started there. And I knew I love movies. I love movies.
Right. We all
television
do.
and all that kind of thing. So for me, I'm like, this job existed. Who knew? For me, it was just finding something that I liked. The other thing that helped me a lot is serving on the school board. When I was, the first year I started on the school board was the year that my husband walked out. But I had run a good campaign. I had been elected to this, and I felt so strongly that come what may, I was going to fulfill my role on the school board. And I ended up, serving 4 terms and met some wonderful people who influenced me greatly. But the one thing that did for me was it gave me the confidence to talk to people, to just talk to people. It gave me, we, in Utah, and I don't know if this is true nationwide, but I think it is, the school board receives all the graduates every year in the high school graduation. So we would have to go to all the high schools and we'd speak for a couple of minutes, and then we'd award diplomas and things like that. And all of those things that put me into a situation where I had to address people in an authoritative way gave me the confidence that I needed to at least get in there and try, to at least think, well, you know what,
Right.
I can at least try this. I think that is something too that has to do with our upbringing. I think our parents very much in us that, well, yeah, you can do it. Try it. At least try it. You can probably do that.
Right.
But really, again, this comes back to my experience has been most people are good. And then when you try things and you get in there and you sincerely do things, I remember making mistakes and going to my boss right away and owning it and saying, I screwed up. I'm not sure how to fix this. Will you help me? And the minute you own, people are so willing to help you and to coach you. For the most part, people don't want to see their coworkers fail. They don't, unless you're in some cutthroat environment, which I don't.
Right.
I think that, for me, just getting over the fear and stepping out there and trying it, and then leaning on people around you. I still do that. When I make a mistake, I still own it immediately. That's one thing that my one friend said. She goes, here's the one piece of advice I'd give you in a career is to own your mistakes and ask for help. I think sometimes we look at asking for help as a weakness,
Mhm.
It's my greatest strength.
Right.
I have learned to ask for help and to hopefully be gracious when it's given, because people have done things for me over my lifetime that I could say thank you 100,000 times a day, and it's never enough to really thank them for what they did for me.
Right.
So I think that part of it is letting that pride go. And
Right.
you know what? I need your help. And people are so willing to help. And,
Right.
you know, all you can do is say thank you. And hopefully they feel the gratitude that you feel for them.
You know, it's funny because one one message I've gotten over and over and over again in private readings is that when you allow others to help you, you are giving them the opportunity to gain something, to get blessings, to have the feeling of having helped someone. You're actually giving the other person something too. It's not just about you. It's not just that you're receiving some help. They're also receiving something from this interaction, because it's an interaction. It's not just one party getting everything. It's something that you've agreed upon, and it actually helps the other person as well. And so if you can't look at it in the way that, like, it's so hard for me to ask for help, I don't want to, it makes me feel bad. Think of the other person, that the other person does gain something out of helping someone else. I mean, you know how you feel when you help someone. I know how I feel when I help someone. It is a blessing in itself.
Yeah, it is. And it's interesting you should say that, because it just sparked a memory for me. When I was really struggling for a while, and I turned very inward, and you tend to kind of overthink your own problems. And I remember sitting with my kids one night and said, you know what, you guys, we all decided, I don't know how the subject came up, but we all decided that week we would do an act of service for someone outside of our household every day. And they weren't huge things, trust me. It was, I'm going to go over and shovel somebody's walk. We're going to bake cookies and take them to a neighbor. And doing these little acts of service, these little kindnesses. And I think the kids also had to do an act of service for a sibling that week too. So like somebody would go in and make somebody's bed or things like that. Just little acts of service take you out of yourself and help you give to somebody else. And it's rewarding. It just makes you feel good. And it also makes you feel capable. You think, you know what, I can do good things. I can do nice things. So I think service is really important, really key to getting out of yourself and doing things. And we can do things now for people in COVID. I know I've left, treats on people's doorsteps and things like that, packaged treats, of course, but little things like that we can do for each other to take care of each other, because we're meant to take care of each other. We're not supposed to do this alone. We don't have to do it alone.
Exactly. And I think that, bringing up that point, I think that the one reason that you feel so good about it, and it really does make you feel like you're part of this human experience, because you're so aligned with spirit when you do something like that. You're aligned with your own higher self or better self, and which is so connected to something bigger than ourselves. I think that anytime you do for others, you're in line with that. So that's another reason that it feels so good and so right. And it's why we're here, to help each other, just to give each other a boost, and not to
have the human experience collectively. That's what we do, is to have that experience, but collectively.
Exactly. And so going back to that point when you're in this deciding what you can and cannot do, when you're, like, for example, when you did the school board, because I feel like that's very much in the same kind of line with what I did when I started the channel, in that didn't know if we could do it, kind of scared. It's big and scary, and we're just us. We don't know what we're doing. It's like, we're just doing this thing that we don't know. We're not. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are on that edge right now, thinking, I want to try this new thing, or I want to expand myself this way, or go in a different direction, but I'm not sure if I can. what do you say to them to just kind of push them off, the edge and kind of get them out there and take that leap of faith?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I always in any situation that I'm worried about or afraid or whatever, I always think, what is the worst thing that could happen? Will I remember this in 5 years? Will this matter in 5 years? And 99% of the time, it won't. It won't matter. We make a lot of big life decisions, but those day-to-day things that we do are not that impactful as far as, far-reaching consequences. And I remember even with my kids growing up, they'd be worried about a math test, and I'd say, will this math test score matter in 5 years? It won't. Do your best. Do your best. That's all you can do. I think that what we're meant to do is try these different things. And if you fail at it, check it off the list. Okay.
Right.
Turns out I hate playing the flute. I never another flute, but if nothing else, you can check some of those boxes and think, I don't love doing that. So I'd say if anything that you're considering and a change and you feel kind of passionate about it, or you have a real interest in it, I just think you're going to have at least some measure of success because your heart's there.
Right.
So,
and like you said, it at the very least, you can cross it off the list, and then maybe you go in the direction you're meant to go, or you get to the thing you're meant to get to. I think sometimes we're pushed to try these things, not just to possibly succeed, but also to maybe fail and learn something, or it's not what I thought it was, so I can go in a different direction now, and I can stop obsessing over trying that thing.
Absolutely. And I've also found that even if you do something and you don't love it, because I had no passion for working for the Chamber of Commerce, none. I did it for a friend, but it put me in touch with other people that have remained in my life and been the gateway and opened other doors of other opportunity for me. So sometimes we have those experiences to teach us a lesson, but to also bring people into our circle that we need to have in our lives for whatever reason.
Right. Exactly. And I think, and to bring you into their life, it's not always about you may be being, going into these arenas for somebody else's benefit.
Right.
You never know.
Yeah. That's true.
And if you do it, it may turn out to be something wonderful. You just don't know until you try. So that's a good. Well, I'm glad that we had this discussion. I hope that it helps a lot of people, because like I said, I have had, reading after reading after reading about people in this situation, and hopefully they'll have found this discussion at least thought-provoking, so they can think about what the next step is, and hopefully do it in a way that is not so scary. Right. We've all been there.
Well, and Kim, I think we were talking earlier that if you've come this far in COVID-19, and if you're standing and you're still moving every day, you can do hard things because you're already doing them. You're already doing something really hard. Why not take that leap of faith? You can do hard things. You just can.
Absolutely. And we're doing the day-to-day plus a pandemic plus attempted coup.
Right.
Well,
we did. We're surrounded by cuckoos.
We're cuckoos making a coup. But so along with all the wonderful things that Julie is, she's also my biggest fan.
I am Kim's biggest fan.
So we thought,
no matter what she's doing.
We thought we'd do a couple of political questions. And so, Julie, what did you want to know?
So the one thing that has really concerned me is I cannot tell you how much it has shaken me to see what went on in the Capitol.
Right.
I think it's horrific. People are dead. It's just awful. And I wondered if you see more violence towards us as we get closer and closer to Inauguration Day, which can't come soon enough.
Right. And so I have looked at this before. So the thing that came in before was like a standoff. So it'd be two sides standing off, which tells me that there'll be more than just one side overrunning another side. It will be two sides kind of prepared, because I do think there'll be something else. It does seem, it does seem, it does seem organized, but it also seems like other parties are aware of the organizing of it. So there are people organizing something, but it's like also like the FBI or, you know, other agencies are aware of this as well this time, and they'll prepare for it. I also though think there'll be some kind of criminal charges for like stand down orders and things like that for this thing. I think some people did know about it, but kind of under prepared on purpose. So I'm not sure what that's about, but I feel like there might even be charges about that, something about that. And something about, yeah, and there's something about like stand down orders. So there's something about that. I'm not really exactly sure how high up that goes, but there's something about that as well that will come out. Because I think I feel like we're gonna know about this eventually. So it does look like there'll be like, to me, it's like skirmishes, but not exactly like the Capitol, but there may be like pockets of violence, but it's matched this time. There's a feeling like it will be. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Well, and then Kim, on the, I'm so disgusted with these senators and the president that have incited this. I'm wondering if Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, Kennedy, some of these guys are going to be held accountable for that, because they need to be. And also, what do you think is going to happen with this impeachment? Do you think Trump's going to be out the door on an amendment, the 25th Amendment, or on impeachment? Because that would be lovely.
So they're gonna, I feel like Nancy Pelosi, I feel like is she's determined to do something on the record. For some reason, impeachment is, it can be impeachment for sure, but for some reason it's not being put that way. It's like she wants something on the record that says this is what this person did. It's almost like for history. She wants it there to show like this was a horrible person, and he's going to go down in history as a horrible person. She's very determined to have that happen in some form. And she has also made sure that they're saying like cornered, that he's cornered, he can't do anything, that he's, to me, it feels like behind the scenes, she's making sure he is cornered, that he is not capable of doing any more damage. I feel like this may be why a lot of these things have happened, like with Twitter and things like that. I feel like there's been real pressure put on these companies to do something and to corner him. They're all making sure he's cornered. They're all making sure he is in a corner.
Good. Does that corner have bars around it?
What's that?
Does that corner have bars around it?
Yes, and bars all around it.
Yay.
Guards. As far as like being held accountable, before, when I looked at this, I had heard the word pariah. So I feel like there's going to be some sort of like, some sort of shaming involved with a lot of these senators. It's weird because nothing's coming up for Hawley. I don't, at least so far.
But he's the worst one.
I know with Ted Cruz, I feel like there's something we talked about before. There's something with money coming up with him that I feel like will go to court, and that is a big thing for him. It's kind of is not good. And then also I had seen, Mitt Romney in kind of a more of a leadership role in the party, and that he just comes up prominently. And then there's also a few senators that I feel like will kind of be forced to retire or pushed out. Maybe that's where like Kennedy and people like that fall into
Jordan.
that kind of, maybe even Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's like, it's almost better that they just step down or step aside.
Kim, do you see that for Jim Jordan at all? I think Jim Jordan's just been so awful.
I just heard the word scandal for him. I think there's a scandal coming with him.
Another one?
Another one. I was going to say, I know there's been one, but I feel like this is another scandal coming for him.
Oh, he's the worst.
A lot of these guys are going to find themselves kind of in like on trial in a way. And I don't know if it's like, you know, many times I've seen like a big trial happening, like a big kind of like, and I feel like it's around the immigration thing, the kids in cages stuff. And I also feel like it's going to be around COVID as well. But I feel like there's, for a few of these like senators, I feel like they're pulled into it in different ways. And so I think the consequences may look different for different people and at different times. You know, it may not be like overnight, but I do feel like it's coming. It's like a rolling thunder. It really just feels like it just keeps coming. I feel like we've hit just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to all of the stuff that Trump has done. We've heard the minimum. I feel like there's so much more.
Well, what he's done in the open is horrifying. You can't even imagine what he's done in secret, you know?
That's it. Yeah. That's it. I mean, exactly. The stuff he's just said out loud, those are the things that have gotten him in trouble. Who knows what he has asked people to do or what he's done, but I feel like it's just this thing that's just going to keep coming out. And the AG, I feel like, is going to be, he's going to go for it. I really feel like he's not going to let any stone be left unturned. I really feel like you, I feel like, and unlike most of us, we can't really move on and heal until we have come face to face with what has happened and put it behind us, make sure that it's taken care of, and then we put it behind us, not just go over it like it's nothing.
We can't. I think that in so many ways, that's what we did with the Confederacy, is that we put all these things up and we never really buried the Confederacy. So it keeps popping up and we keep slapping it down. So to investigate.
Or with Iran Contra, or with the Abu Ghraib and all these other things. We just never really dealt with them and held the right people accountable. I think if we don't do it this time, there'll be another Trump that's worse down the line, you know?
Agreed. So that's interesting.
Well, I have a couple of announcements, Julie, and then we can wrap up our discussion. Thank you so much for coming and doing this, Julie. I hope we helped some people get through this crazy time and help them navigate things a little bit easier. We all have had this happen to us at some time, you know, in our life, where you think things are going one way and they take a sharp turn another way. Right. So I wanted to ask for prayers and healing for a subscriber named Karin. Has a chronic illness and she's hitting some complications with that illness. So if you guys can say prayers for Karin, that would be wonderful. And I'm going to be on with Debbie on Freebird Spirit on this Friday, the 15th at 7 p.m. Eastern. So, and we'll be doing mini readings for people, just whoever happens to pop on will get a little mini reading. And I also wanted to let you know that I'm going to be doing a live feed with Gary Champion. And so if you guys have any subjects you want us to talk about, or questions that you have, we thought we'd get some questions in advance for that. And they're big, kind of more general questions. I know some people had questions about past lives, or, you know, whatever. It's just whatever you guys think. If you want to do political stuff, that's fine too. But I'm going to be on with him and I'm not sure when that's going to happen. So if you have any questions, just put them in the comments, or you can send me an email. If you want to see about classes or appointments, I don't have any openings right now, but I will coming in the future. But that's intuitiview.com is the website, or intuitiview@gmail.com. And then you can also please like this video, but comments, if you have comments for Julie, if you have questions for her, please put that in there. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Send this to somebody if you think they might benefit from it. And that's about it. So thanks, Julie. Thanks again.
Welcome.
Really appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.
My
Bye,
pleasure.
Intuitive viewers. Thanks.
Bye.